Good morning, guys. So I just got to share this with y'all because God is so smart. And yeah, he just taught me this morning. So I'm going to share it with somebody because I don't look at stuff like this, guys. I'm really, I honestly, I don't even know how to get this out. It's way too early. It's not even 9 a.m. yet. But a lot of people think because God speaks to me in parable dreams and they'll like read a post that I post or listen to a dream interpretation that God gave me or something like that. And they're like, you think on such a deep level, when in reality, I didn't think on a deep level until God began to call me into ministry, like call me into my purpose. Like I really honestly wasn't a deep thinker like that. Like I would think about random stuff, but it was never deep to the point that I would sit there for hours and just think about it and dwell on it. Like I wouldn't say I was so much a surface level thinker, but I definitely wasn't super deep until God called me into purpose. And every dream, every vision, or whatever was always a parable. So I always had to sit down with him and let him interpret it for me. And just, they were never just basic biblical symbol interpretations. They were always deeper than that. So I couldn't like rely on someone who God had been giving dreams to for years to help me. Like I literally had to let God disciple me. And I feel like that's what made me a deep thinker. So anytime somebody tells me something, spiritual or even normal stuff, I always think deeper than what they're talking about. And I'm grateful for that. I really am. But I got to tell you guys about this conversation that I had with God this morning. So much so that I actually had to look into it because I'm like, there's no way I'm talking to myself about this. I'm like, because I have no idea about anything that I'm saying. But I knew the Lord was speaking to me. But you know how God will tell you something and you're like, nah, I got to look this up to make sure I'm not tripping, to make sure it's not me. So that was me this morning. So I'm sitting at my vanity and I'm doing my face routine, doing my skincare, and I'm like looking at certain, follicles on my face and just like different stuff. I'm just examining my face, right? And I'm looking at like certain imperfections and different things. Like, okay, I need to do this over here. And I'm plucking my eyebrows and I'm just doing stuff. And God began to speak to me about how medical examiners, and they either go by medical examiners or forensic pathologists. They're one and the same. It's basically that doctor that um, reviews a dead body after the person has been killed or whatever. They do an internal and an external review to determine the cause of death. A baby, a infant, a child, a grown up, whatever. They always go to a forensic pathologist or medical examiner. This is a medical doctor that specializes in um, looking over dead bodies. They specialize in determining the cause of death of a dead person. That's their job, right? And they know what to look for. So God began to talk to me about the role that a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist play. And he's like, a medical examiner is able to determine the cause of death of a person by looking at the internal trauma that that body went through, right? And I'm like, okay, so I'm just listening. He's like, yeah, they look at the internal trauma that the body went through, and that's how they can determine the cause of death, even if it's not visible on the surface. Yep, I need y'all to really catch what I'm saying. So I'm going to repeat this. He said a medical examiner looks internally to determine what trauma hit this person's body, what trauma was caused internally that led to this person's death that may not be visible on the outside. Of course, a medical examiner or forensic pathologist, they also look external, right? So if the person was shot, you can see a bullet wound, you can see those things, right? If a person was burned or whatever, you can see that from the outside, but there's some trauma that can only be done when that medical can only be acknowledged can only be found when that medical examiner or that forensic pathologist looks internally, right? So when they're looking internally, they're looking for hemorrhaging, right? These tiny red, purple spots in the eyes, right? Or the eyelids, or in the face that may have ruptured due to pressure, right? Due to strangulation or some type of pressure, right? They look for internal bruising on the neck, right? On the skin, in which bruising does not always show externally. It may show externally for a moment, but if that body has been sitting, that person will have internal bruising, right? So they look for internal bruising and abrasions to see if that person was strangled, because those bruises will still be there, even though the external, catch this, guys, even though the external bruising is gone, the internal bruising will still be there, and that medical examiner will be able to tell what happened, right? They look for cartilage fractures. And help me get these words out, Lord, because it's way too early. They look for cartilage fractures, which are small bones in the neck that can be fractured during strangulation, right? They look for swelling and hemorrhaging in the neck tissues, right? They look for congestion in the face, in the tongue, or the lips, which is like that bluish color when you're when you've been strangled, or when you've drowned or something, your face, your lips, whatever turns blue. They look internally for this congestion, right? And these are signs that are not visible externally, right? So an internal autopsy is crucial for them to determine what happened to this person, right? Even if the visible marks and bruises are gone, right? They can still determine what happened to that person by the internal trauma. So God begins to speak to me, and he's like, the same way that a forensic pathologist or medical examiner examines a body after death to determine the cause of death, we have to examine the internal traumas in our lives while we're still alive to determine what's killing parts of us. And I want y'all to catch that. We have to be the medical examiners, or AKA the forensic pathologists, in our own lives that's able to do an internal autopsy, right? An internal check while we are still alive to determine what's killing us, right? Pay attention to how your spirit reacts to certain people. Pay attention to how your heart tightens when certain words are spoken, or when a person walks up to you, a certain person, right? A family gathering, your heart tightens, or you get anxiety. Pay attention to how your spirit reacts. Pay attention to the internal hemorrhaging, so to speak, that's caused by betrayal, rejection, years of self-neglect, right? Pay attention to the trauma that chokes your voice, that struggles your confidence, that strangles your confidence. Help me, Lord. That stabs your purpose. Pay attention to this, right? Because some of us are walking around alive, but there's dead areas in our souls, right? And we don't realize that this something or someone has started a killing process internally. Okay, so God is saying pay attention, just like a medical examiner would do for a dead person. You have to be that forensic pathologist, you have to be that medical examiner for yourself, to do an internal review, an internal check for traumas that are not on the outside, they're internal. Pay attention. You have to be that spiritual medical examiner, that spiritual forensic pathologist that's able to look internally to determine what trauma is hitting your body and killing parts of you. And I pray that this made sense, guys. I really do. I pray that this made sense, because to me, when he was telling it to me, it made a lot of sense. We have to be our own pathologists and medical examiners to pay attention internally to what's going on. How does your body react internally when you're around certain people? How does your body react internally when words are spoken over you? How does your body react internally when you're in certain environments? How does your body react when someone calls your phone, this specific person, and immediately your heart starts to race? Your chest tightens. You start to feel inadequate. Like, pay attention to the internal trauma that's being done that's killing parts of you. And just like how a medical examiner, help me, Lord, just like how a medical examiner or a forensic pathologist would do an internal autopsy on these people, and if the outcome is this person was strangled or something like that, what do? They let the police know, they let the people in authority know what's happening, and those people in authority, their job is to go arrest that person and lock them away. So you need to do an internal autopsy of what's going on, what trauma is being caused to your body, and when you figure out who, what, when, where, how, right? You need to lock that person or that thing away. So, yeah, that's it. That's all, y'all. I know this is like a heavy little quick word, but I had to share it because I didn't know. I mean, of course, I know about autopsies, but I never think, okay, well, when they're doing an internal autopsy, like, what are they looking for to determine if this person died? Like, I never look at that stuff because honestly, I never cared. I don't want to be a forensic pathologist or a medical examiner. So I know that their job is to look for the cause of death, but how they look for the cause of death and looking for internal trauma, that never crossed my mind. Okay. But God is smart. He sits higher than me. That's why when he spoke this to me this morning, I'm like, let me go look this up to make sure this ain't me. Cause I'm like, God is not a man that he shall lie. So if he's telling you this is the process for something and you look it up, it's going to be exactly what he said the process is for it. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm like, if I look at this process and everything I'm hearing in my spirit is wrong, I know that's just me talking to me. Okay. Because God is not a man that he shall lie. So if he's telling me something, I can go fact check what he's saying. And sure enough, I'm looking it up and I'm like, dang, God is smart. Duh, he's smart, Nina. So I just wanted to share that with you. Do your internal autopsies to determine what's killing you on a day-to-day basis. Who, what, when, where, how it's killing you on a daily basis. And when you figure that out, take it to God and lock that thing away. So that's all I wanted to share with y'all because God shared it with me. And I was just simply doing my face routine. I was not thinking about an autopsy or a medical examiner or a forensic pathologist. I was not thinking about any of that. But God will just start talking anytime, anywhere, any place, and it just hits. It just, I can't even get these words out. Y'all get it. Y'all get it. So I pray that this blesses somebody this morning. Have a good morning. Happy 4th of July. This is a fireworks word, I know, but happy 4th of July. I hope you enjoy your long weekend. I am off today, the weekend, of course, and Monday. So I'm going to embrace and enjoy this 4-day weekend. But I hope this blesses someone. I love y'all and have a great day. Bye.